Hey friend, I'm Erin. Welcome to my channel. If we have not met yet, I am a teacher turned photographer, and I love helping fellow Milspouse photographers build businesses that thrive despite frequent moves. I am back today with another episode in our series highlighting fellow Milspouse photographers inside the Photographers Changing Stations community. And I am joined by Grace Ellenberg, who I am so excited to chat with and can't wait to bring you along for the ride. So, Grace, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
So good to be here.
I feel like there was an instant connection between us when I first found you on Instagram, because as a fellow helicopter family, I really identified with your work. So I'm super excited just to chat today a little bit about your story, how you got into things, and all that good stuff.
Yes, of course. We love helicopters.
Yes, we do. Awesome. Well, let's pretend for a second you and me just bump into each other at a spouse's event. We all have our like little traditional mill spouse info, where we were from, where we've been, all of those things. So just tell us a little bit about you and your military connection.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Grace. I'm currently stationed at Fort Novosel, Alabama. My husband is in the Army. Despite what my work might show, because I photograph aircraft a lot, my husband is actually a military police officer. And so we had that fun little thing here because it's the home of Army aviation. So we're kind of the oddballs out of not being technically helicopter affiliated, but I shoot them a lot. So
Yeah.
we got married in 2020, which was when I joined the military life. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida, which is where Pensacola Naval Air Station is. So I've always grown up around the military, but marrying my husband was my first actually like intro to being a military spouse and really learning what that life is like by diving full force into it.
Yeah. So being from a military town, I feel like some people are like, "Oh, I will never marry into the military," and then jokes on them when that happens. Do you find that that was your story, or were you kind of open to it?
Yeah, no, I very much I never wanted to marry into the military. I think the constant moving for sure is one of the biggest deterrents
Yeah.
when people think about joining the military life, and really not having as much of a say over what you do. And
Yep.
so I like having my freedom and getting to choose where I live and where I when I can vacation and all those things. And so it was definitely a an interesting transition when I decided to marry my husband. At the same time now, like I love the military life, and though it has so many challenges, there's so much good in it too. And in it for the long haul now. So,
Yes, I love
um,
that.
but yeah,
Have
it is
you
interesting.
guys moved at all since you got married, or was he at Fort Novosel when you guys met?
So he was stationed at Fort Stewart in Savannah, or right
Okay.
outside of Savannah. And so we dated long distance our entire relationship. I was living in New York City at the time, and so my husband and I are acquaintances from high school. So
That's awesome.
we were connected in high school, but never had really a friendship or anything. And then 5 years later, he slid into my Instagram DMs, and here we are.
Here we
Um,
are.
yeah, and so in 2020, he moved to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
He got transferred there to go to his captain's career course. And in the midst of that, I ended up leaving New York City to marry him. So I moved from Upper West Side Manhattan to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with a town of 3,000 people.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Quite the transition.
Yes.
So I've been at Fort Leonard Wood and then here at Fort Novosel.
Okay. And do I recall that you're coming up on a move?
Yes, we are
Okay.
moving in like 2.5 months. I haven't announced where we're going yet,
Okay. We
um,
won't tell anybody.
but I will. It won't be a duty station. My husband is going to grad school, so we'll be
Gotcha.
moving to a university, and then in 2 years we'll be moving up to West Point for him to teach history up there. So
Awesome. Awesome.
that's kind of our next big duty station is West Point, which we're
That's
very excited about.
super exciting. We're on similar paths. My husband's in the grad school step right now, but then we're heading to the Air Force Academy. So super excited to be in the Colorado area and back in a big city.
Yes, very jealous about Colorado. It is so
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. Okay, so you said your husband is not affiliated with helicopters. So tell me a little bit how you got into all of the flight line work that you do.
Yeah. So Fort Novosel, formerly Fort Rucker, is the home of RV Aviation. So this is where flight school happens.
Hmm.
So same for Air Force helicopter pilots come through here as well.
Yep.
And so flight school happens. They graduate students every 2 weeks here. So it is a very common military celebration, as I've like to call it,
Hmm.
that happens. And so when I moved here, there was another photographer who we had followed each other on Instagram even before I moved here. And she had messaged me and said that she wanted me to photograph her husband's flight graduation. And she was really the only person who photographed them before I moved here. During COVID, you weren't allowed to really have photographers, and like 2020, 2021, everything was just kind of off the rocks. Nothing was
Yeah.
normal at that point. So I moved here, and she just kind of gave me her business off the top because she liked my work. And honestly, that session just kind of spurred on a huge chain of reactions of um, it is such a huge thing now at flight graduations. There can sometimes be up to 15 photographers there for
Wow.
a class, which for the first year I was here, there was me and there's sometimes one or two others.
Okay.
But for the first 6 months, it was really just me doing them. And so flight graduation is a big thing here. And then the day before flight graduations, families get to take, or pilots get to take their families out on the flight line to show them the aircraft that they're going to be flying. And so I kind of just go along with you for that and photograph the event. So I'll photograph you showing your kids the cockpit,
Yes.
or showing your mom, like what this propeller does or whatever. And then we could do some family photos out there as well. Um, and it's the best. It's so much
That is
fun.
awesome.
It's a lot of the family's first time actually getting to sit in the helicopter that their pilot is flying.
Sure.
So there's so much just like a sense of pride that they get while they're doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now I've been doing it for 3.5 years, just about. 3.5? Yeah. Moved
Yeah.
here at the beginning of 2022. So yeah, it is just kind of blossomed, and now it is such a big thing to have a photographer with you for flight graduation and family day here. To where I'm constantly referring to other photographers as well.
Yeah. Do you
So
only take one student per class, or do you try to like
yeah,
photograph multiple people at the same time?
I have gotten to where I can do multiple people at the same time.
Okay.
Usually I'll have about three.
Okay.
That's when after three I'll start referring to other people.
Sure.
Typically. It really is like a don't know what they're looking for is, but like uh, I've kind of narrowed it down to like I know how they graduate with their like they graduate in alphabetical order by rank. So
Okay.
I have to like if I have two people that both have a C last name and they're both warrant officers, I won't take both of them just because there's a good chance they'll overlap during the ceremony. So I've kind of gotten it down to a science
Yeah.
of
You've got like
what
the
I can
inside
take.
knowledge from having done it enough times to be able to figure that out. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. So for the first year I did it, I only took one person.
Okay.
But now that I have it down to a science and I know what I'm doing, I usually take two or three.
Okay.
Every once in a while four, depending on if someone's date moves and it happens.
Sure.
But yeah, typically 2 to 3 is the sweet spot for
That's
me.
awesome. So, how are you feeling about your upcoming move? Like, this seems like such a special niche because of the base you're at. Like, what are you thinking comes next?
Yeah, I'm very sad,
Yeah, I
honestly.
bet.
Yeah, it is such a special niche being here. And there will be, I think, opportunities to work with, especially aircraft at new bases. But
Mhm.
um, my so much of my heart has been poured into these things, and so I think this is the most sad part about my move is leaving this
Yeah.
niche of flight school. So I'm working through it, honestly.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to kind of adjust my disbursement of sessions because right now I would say about 50 to 60% of my work is military.
Mhm.
And so the fact that I want to like be at a base for the next few years um, is weird. I will be about an hour from one,
Okay.
and into where we're going. I'll be close-ish to West Point, so I know like
Okay.
I'll be able to maybe start doing sessions there and
Yeah.
might do some more like traveling military things. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just gonna try to figure out where to
Yeah.
go from here.
Something new will come together.
Yeah, yeah. And so I actually am doing a commercial shoot soon
Oh,
for
cool.
a company that reached out to me who found my military work online and they just loved it. And so they're
Amazing.
having a commercial shoot now to do photos with helicopters for them to use in their social media and advertising.
That's
So
very
that's like a
cool.
new little thing. That's kind of like, okay, this is like different, but it's
Yeah,
like they just loved how authentic families were captured, especially on the flight line. So
totally.
so I'm like, okay, this could be a new little area too to
Yeah,
go into.
similar but different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
know
it'll
that
it'll be a transition.
we have another spouse in our community who is somehow affiliated with the Naval Academy, and I need to bring her on and talk to her because I want to hear about it. Where she does, like, she's allowed on their campus. She does graduation photos, commissioning photos, things like that for them. And I am interested in
Yeah.
what that's going to look like for me potentially at USAFA. But I wonder if you would have similar
Yeah.
opportunities at West Point as well to be able to photograph all of the excitement around that event.
Yeah, I hope so. That's doing the like those celebrations of life in general are my favorite thing. And so and I was thinking through like what I want like my brand to look like going forward. The word commemorative is what kept coming up.
Love that.
And so it's like whether it's a promotion, a retirement, a graduation, all those things are like that word I feel like encompasses what
Hmm.
I love photographing,
Yes.
especially around the military.
Yeah, there's something special about it, especially when you're part of that community. Like, you know what those photos
Yeah,
mean for people. And I feel like you have a different perspective when you're in it as well as compared to, any old other
yeah,
photographer that would get hired to do something like that. So,
yeah,
well,
100%.
I'm excited for your next chapter. I hope you have something exciting come together. And I know it'll be hard to leave this, but it's just the start.
Yeah,
So
yep, for sure.
if you were talking to somebody who wanted to get in, like, one of these other 15 photographers that show up at every graduation, what would you tell somebody who's trying to work their way in to do this?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, um, well, one, finding someone to take you on for photos is the first step.
Sure.
Or you can just show up. Like if you are specifically at this space, just showing up to a graduation and photographing is a
Oh,
great way to just
interesting.
practice.
Okay.
It's anyone could walk in and take photos of it.
Okay.
So that's a great way to just practice because it's inside. So it takes, especially if you're more on the newer side of photography, it can take
Mhm.
a little bit to get used to the indoor lighting if you're used to outdoors.
Sure.
But here the museum is beautiful to photograph, and I know there's many other beautiful museums that are military affiliated. I know Pensacola has the NAS Museum, which is so gorgeous. Um, and so military celebrations in general, though, my biggest piece of advice is just putting yourself out there. Still, so many of my clients, even if it's for a promotion or retirement, is me kind of just punting the idea to someone. If I've just
Mm.
even acquaintances with them, like, have you thought about like having a professional photographer there to do photos? They're like, oh, amidst everything, no, I hadn't. Yeah, sure, let's do that. And I feel like with these big life celebrations, photos just kind of get put to the side and they don't think about it because
Sure.
they're like to show up. I need to think of what I'm wearing and make sure my parents are there. And so photography just isn't a fourth thought on some people's minds.
From my
Of course,
experience too, I feel like the spouses are usually the ones thinking about photos. I mean, in all of the military events I've done, I can probably count on one hand the number of service members who've reached out about pictures, whereas it's usually
yeah,
their wife who's
yeah,
like, "Hey, I really want pictures of this." I'm like, "Okay, good."
right, right. And so yeah, I think a lot of it's just punting the idea of like, hey, what if
Yeah.
like I come along and you can just enjoy it? Like I don't like that's the big thing is even when I am in a celebration like with my husband, I want to hire someone because I know my
Yes.
brain's gonna be like, okay, I need to capture this, this, and this. And so hiring a friend that I trust, be like, come do this for me so I can actually enjoy this moment of my husband's like change of command.
Sure.
Because the last thing I want to do or have my mother-in-law doing is like having their phone out, taking a picture. Like,
Yes.
everyone put your phones away, just experience it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing that I tried to like punt to my family is like, I just want you to experience the moment and
Mhm.
just let me do everything else. You can look back and be like, that moment happened. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think a lot of it is just putting yourself out there, is my biggest piece of advice for people.
That makes sense. Do you find
Yeah.
that a lot of your business is referral based, or is it hard with classes graduating as often as they do that maybe students don't know each other that well from different classes?
Yeah, a lot of it is referral based. Just because like I had one pilot a month or two ago, and he's referred like five other people to me because
Oh,
they were all in
love
I
that.
class together because people are constantly moving around, like people get delayed and whatnot. So word of mouth is huge. I feel like every military spouse probably experiences this, but the military Facebook groups are
Gold.
they're yeah, yeah, there's such an easy way to market yourself.
Yeah,
And it can be overwhelming in Facebook groups like that because there's so many photographers
sure.
typically.
Hmm.
Um, However, I definitely think that is like such a gold mine of like, here's this one picture, and I feel like you'll get booked from it just with that.
Yes.
And people find me on Instagram too. I had two pilots. One was a female, and one was a female pilot, and one was the spouse of a aviator. Both reach out to me. I photographed them this last month, and they were both like, "I've been following you for over 2 years. Like, I followed you before you even
Oh,
moved here. We chatted about flight school, and I'm so glad that we get to have you do this before you move." And so those are like my favorite type of clients when
yes.
they like they're so pumped about coming to flight school or
Right.
their aviator coming to flight school that they start just like looking on Instagram and social media, and they see these flight line photos and they wait, for
Hmm.
2 years to get them done. And so those are the best. Like those are my
Yeah.
favorite clients to have. Because
And then
they're
by the time your session comes, they just like totally trust you. They let you lead the
yeah,
way and just
yeah,
like
to like do
they're the
whatever you
best.
want.
Yes.
Yeah, that just make us look awesome.
You're like,
And
check done. I can do that.
yeah, yeah. So yes, but word of mouth I think is like one of the biggest things for sure. If that didn't exist, I would definitely not have as near many clients.
Sure, sure. Well,
Yeah.
I could chat this stuff all day. You know, I love chatting helicopters, but one of the reasons there was so much interest in doing this series in our community is because, well, yes, we are all Milspouse photographers. We are so much more than that, too. So I would love for you to share a little bit about the Grace outside of photography and military life. Tell us a little bit about you, what you like to do for fun.
I love traveling.
Okay.
That is something that I've always loved is traveling. I have two pups. You might have seen one kind of walk
Yes.
across the back here a little bit ago. And so I'm a dog mom, Cooper and Atlas, and they are my sweet boys. They're both sleeping over here, and like their ears are
Oh,
flopped over. But I love taking them to go to the lake and go on walks and things like that. Most recently became a human mom. um,
dog mom and human mom.
for
Love it.
Yes, dog and human mom, to George. He's 4 months old now. And so I had him this past November, at the very end of the month. So that's been a whole new
Yes.
adventure with trying to balance business life and mom life. I definitely thought that I would be able to like let him nap and me just like work away and like you kind of get hit in the face, with a fire hydrant of how difficult it can be. My empathy for moms, especially moms of more than one child too. I'm like, I don't know how you have a business and like keep up with it and a child running around because I can't focus at
You're like, my
all.
head's everywhere. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not doing anything well. Well, you're not alone in that because I totally hear that.
Yes, yes. So that's just been a new thing, but
Yeah,
we're working through it, and having him is so good though. It's such a blessing, and
sure.
I definitely see how just getting to see things through a child's eyes just changes things so much. Just like he's
Yes.
just wide eyed of everything, and I'm sure as he continues to get older, and especially into the like 4 to 5 years old, just experiencing life is going to be so fun. Just being
Yes.
able to help him experience it to the mostest. So
Totally. It's funny you
yeah,
say that. My oldest is 8. And just this past weekend, I did spring minis at this new garden that my kids had never been to, but it was a nice morning. So like, our whole family went. And he walked in and he was like, this place is beautiful. And I was like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, like not what I was expecting an 8-year-old boy to say, but like, yeah, just seeing it through their eyes is really, really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's definitely a new experience for sure, but
Yeah.
it's so good. And so, yeah, I've had to learn a lot. I didn't go back to work until January, and so
Okay.
just
I
over
was
the
going to
last
ask you
like
what
2 months.
maternity leave looked like for you.
Yeah, So George was born end of November, and then I technically went back early January. But you know how it is for photographers too. January and February tend to be like I think the
Yes.
slowest months.
Yep.
And so I was basically doing my flight line and flight graduation stuff, which is every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And outside of that, I tried to really take on minimal regular sessions. So it wasn't that busy, but I felt incredibly busy just because of when I take on multiple clients and then I'm like have no time to edit because I have the baby with me the whole time. It's just a
Yeah.
whole new world. So I'm glad
Yes.
that it was technically not as many sessions as
Sure.
usual. But so now I'm back to doing more full time, and our church has a little like daycare preschool thing
Oh,
that
nice.
George goes to a few days a week. So that's where he
Okay.
is right now, and he
Love
wants
it.
some time. Yeah, which gives me at least the morning
Hmm.
just to edit, do things like this,
Yeah.
and all my military stuff takes place during the day. So
Sure.
um, it makes it easier for me to I can do those things and then go get him and then spend my afternoons with him and focus on him and not like I have like 10 things to edit.
Yes.
Um, really trying to become more vigilant about my time in the mornings when it's just me to
Yeah.
okay, I need to like utilize this time well
Right.
so that
This is
way
it.
that way I can use my time well with George and not have to be stressing while he's home. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
a lot. I totally feel it. I started my business when my kids were 1 and 3, and so they're 6 and 8 now. And when we did these minis this weekend, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier now that they can come along
I'm
and just
sure.
hang out and not like come along and be like, mom, 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 mom.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure. Yeah, I very much I do miss the dink life. That's for sure. Just I was like, what did I do with my time
right,
before I just our evenings, it's we George goes to bed right around dinner time for us. And so
okay.
it's I feel like that my husband and I eat dinner with each other maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. Or we just end up waiting up and eating dinner at 9 p.m. While one of us is
Neither
trying
of
to get
which are great.
yeah. So it's just a whole new world. Like, I don't know what I did before. Like, I just got to sit here and watch TV and not think about other things, I guess.
But you didn't realize what you were doing when you were doing it. It's not until you look back that you're like, oh, that was so different.
Yes, yes, but
uh,
it's good. It's mom life is a good thing, that's for
yes,
sure.
for sure. So you said you love to travel. Have you taken George on any adventures yet, or is that coming?
Yes, we just got back a week and a half ago from Ireland. We took him on his
Okay,
first international trip. Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
we jumped in the deep end with that
You
one.
sure
Just with
did. That's a long plane ride.
yeah, with the flight. Yeah, I had lived in New York City for 6 years, and so I was used to like if you're flying to the UK, it was like 5 hours.
Sure.
Flying from Atlanta takes a little bit longer than that than
Yeah.
New York, so it was a 9 hour flight. I don't
Okay.
know what I was thinking. I was like, oh yeah, it's the same. But you forget you have to like go up and over for
Sure.
flying. But he did amazing. The
Good.
highlight of our trip was how well he did. The way over there, he slept the entire plane ride.
What? You're
And
like, can I
woke
buy
up.
a plane? Like, can we have this
Yeah,
now?
yeah. He woke up once to eat for like 20 minutes, and the rest he was just passed out in a little baby bassinet on the
Oh,
plane.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, the way back, different story. It was not a red eye, and so
Okay.
he did nap and whatnot. He still did amazing. Everyone around us was like, "This is the best baby we've ever been near on a plane." And of course, my like Enneagram 3 is like, "Ah, yes, he's the best baby." Um, for 10 hours holding him between like my husband and I, and our seat back screens didn't work. It was a long
Oh
flight.
no.
So, but George did wonderful in Ireland and just wide eyed the entire time. And yeah, he won't remember it, but we will.
Yeah,
So we'll
absolutely.
remember experiencing that and me breastfeeding all the random places across Ireland and on the
Right?
plane. Yeah, it's definitely it was challenging, but it was so good. And so we're looking forward to our next trip with him for sure.
Totally.
But we got it right in that sweet spot before he starts crawling and it's moving everywhere.
Yes.
So
The
um,
toddler plane rides I recall being harder than the infant plane rides.
yes,
I'm trying to remember
yes.
what my husband used to say. He called planes like vibrating sound machines or something, which new little babies just love. You're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I love to wrap this up with a question, and I'm very interested in your answer with as much as you love to travel. If you guys could be stationed anywhere for 2 years, where would you go and why?
I it's such a hard question. When
Yeah.
I was like, where would I go? Because there's like the safe options that I'm like, I would love to be stationed here. And there's like the more like, okay, this would be a little more challenging, but it would be kind of cool.
Sure.
I would love to do Alaska.
Okay.
I think that would I would definitely choose J Bear in Anchorage versus Wayne Wright for the Army, which is in um, the town is Fairbanks.
Okay.
That one's a lot more isolated
Sure.
there, but J Bear and Anchorage would at least like have you near an Alaskan city, as
Yeah.
much as you can, a little bit closer to civilization. So I think Alaska would be fun. I just think it'd be so beautiful with all the outdoor things to do there. So I think that'd be my choice. My safe option would be Fort Carson, actually in Colorado. That
Oh,
is one
come
of my
visit sometime.
yeah, that is like one of my husband and I's top places we'd love to end up would be Colorado.
Cool.
So yeah, both are great. And there's some international ones too that like in Europe that I would like, but Anchorage would be my choice, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool. I've never been to Alaska, but it's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, me either. I hear great things.
Yeah.
The light, with
I
I don't
think
know
I would
what it
have a
will
hard time with that.
yeah, I don't know what it would be like with especially with photos, like when you have
Yeah.
an hour of daylight, how does that even work?
Totally. Your slow seasons can be totally based on the amount of light you have during the day. Though maybe if it's like
Yes.
sunset the entire time, maybe you can pack in those days. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, for real. For real.
That's funny. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining, Grace. This is awesome. Can you real quick share where people can connect with you if they want to touch base about, any of the things we've talked about?
Social media wise, I'm most active on Instagram. And so my Instagram is at ellenberg.co.
Okay.
Ellenberg is all E's. And then my website as well, it's just ellenbergco.com. But those are my two most common places. I'm on Facebook as well, but Instagram is for sure my the place to be.
Yes, I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you again for doing this. It was lovely to chat with you, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Yes, me too. Thanks, Erin. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Grace.
it.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.